Y'all know what's going on. It's time for another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and welcome to the show, y'all. Look here. Listen to me now. Now, trustee been busted, and he gave up the goods on Sergeant Smith. Now, they're in the cell, and the inmate is telling the lieutenant that Sergeant Smith has been supplying them with the phones, tobacco, narcotics, the movies. And he even told them that their wives and girlfriends and sometimes prostitutes have been bought out so they can engage in what they do, when they had the time. He said he even allowed them to ride his motorcycle that he bought out there, just in a circle, all kinds of things. So the lieutenant, he said, hold on a second. He said, let me call the captain and the warden. So he got them on the phone. And he said, sir, ward, I need you to hear something. So he told the inmate, repeat what you told me. So the inmate repeated everything that he had just told the lieutenant. And then when he finished, the lieutenant stepped outside the cell. And when he stepped outside the cell, he told everybody, lockdown. Lockdown. So when everybody went in their rooms, they were wondering what's going on. So the lieutenant is talking to the warden and the captain, and they make a plan. They're going to make a plan to not lock the inmate up, but let him go back to work the next day. But not to go back to work to just be going back to work to let him get off. They wanted him to go out there to go to work so that they could finally get Sergeant Smith. They wanted him. They wanted him. They were tired of all the rumors and innuendos and him barely getting away and all of these types of things. They wanted to lock him in this time. So they made some calls to the local police department and told them what was going on and what they intended on doing. And the police said they would make sure that they were on scene because this was on state property, but it's still outside the institution, and plus the other things that were going on, right? So they had troopers and the regular police all available, ready. So they let the inmate go back to work. They kept the unit on lockdown, but they let this inmate go back to work. So the rest of the compound had no idea. They didn't have any idea what was going on because they didn't allow them to come out. And by them not coming out, they couldn't spread the word as to something's up. Dude must be working with them. Everybody was guessing what was going on, but it was weird. They couldn't get word out. The warden had executed this to perfection, you hear me? Now, see, David, he's on the other end of the compound. And they're wondering, what's going on? Why is everybody, on that end not coming out? The only person that came out was dude. And he thought about it. He said, man, we all done got something from him. They done got phones, they done everything from him. So David said, put everything up. He tell everybody, put everything up. Make sure it's secure. Don't nothing be out until we know what's going on with this guy. Something's up. He's the only one that's coming out of that building. They let him go to work. Put it up, everything. So the dude goes to work. Now the rest of the compound is out, y'all. Everybody's out. But this one dude from the top of the hill, he gets to come out, and he's a trustee. And they let him go to work. And don't nobody know what's going on. So he goes out and he's acting all normal, shaking hands, fist bumping everybody else that's going out to work with him, and making plans and talking. But what they don't know, what they don't know, this boy is wired up. And when I'm talking about wired up, he wired up, man, ready to get it all. Ready to get it all. The move is on. So he goes out to work. When they go through the gate, the officer that's there, this man in the gate, he pats him down, but he's already been instructed to let this particular inmate go through. Don't touch him. Straight from the warden's mouth. So he tells him, go ahead on. And he goes on through. Everybody's looking like, come here and pat you down. And they ain't really thinking about it because they're trustees, and sometimes that happen, sometimes it don't. Nobody's thinking what's going on with this move. So they get out to work and they're doing all kinds of things, and he's making it his business to be around Sergeant Smith and asking him when we're going to make a move again, and Sergeant Smith talking freely. He said, I got about 30 phones that I'm going to bring in this afternoon. They're already in the trunk. I just got to go get them. I'm waiting on the warden and them to leave. He's saying all of this. Saying all of this. So then the dude asked him, he said, man, when you going to get the girls back out here? Because he had been instructed to ask them that. He said, why, are you trying to do something? He said, yeah, as soon as possible. He said, I'll call one tonight. He don't know he's being recorded. So he makes a call right there in front of him. And he tells the girl, make sure you're out here at 5 o'clock this afternoon. And they're listening to this. And she says she's on the way. She'll be there at 5 on the dot. She said, in the usual place. He said, yeah. She said, I'll be there. You want me to bring anybody else? He said, yeah, bring just 2 of your friends with you. Now it's set. He got phones he's finna bring in, and he finna let the guys get it in. You understand? At 5 o'clock. So the day goes by. Dude is walking around talking to everybody out there, asking them all kinds of stuff, things that he already know the answer to. He's just trying to make sure that he can back up everything that he has told the lieutenant, the captain, and the warden. He wants it on tape because he don't want to go down. This man he's going home in a couple of months. And if he don't do what he do, they can charge him with other things and he won't be going home in a couple of months. It's self-preservation in here, y'all. So he's getting everything on tape. Getting everything on tape. And there it is. 5 o'clock comes. And they see a car pull up. In that car, because see, Sergeant had walked to his car. He had walked to his car and got the phones out of the trunk. They're watching him. The administration recording everything he's doing. Then they watch him get in this car that just pulled up on state property. He gets into the car and he instructs them to drive to this little part on the back of the prison where it won't interfere with anything and nobody can see. They pull up to the back. The other inmates, they come out and they meet him. And they're all lollygagging and talking and laughing and hugging and kissing on the girls, and the girls is talking to them and they dancing and the music is playing, it's coming from the car. They out there shaking it up, doing their thing, and then all of a sudden, whoop, whoop, blue lights come, surround everybody. Natural instincts kicked in, you know what I'm saying, to all the guys that was out there, is to run. So they look left and right, but then they realize, I'm in prison. Where am I gonna run to? So they all froze, and the police jumped out of the car and said, everybody on the ground. Everybody laid down on the ground except for the 3 women. And they said, you too, on the ground. Sergeant Smith is standing there, he's looking at them, he said, what's going on? They said, you too, on the ground. Guns drawn. So he lays down on the ground. He said, hold up, this is state property, what are y'all doing? And then he could see in the distance as they were walking up, the lieutenant, the captain, and the warden. They were making their way down there. And they looked at him. And the warden said, Sergeant Smith, come here. So he gets up off the ground, and the sergeant, he looks at him. He's trying to think real fast of what he can say, how can he spin this tail to get out of this one. And the warden looked at him. He said, give me that off your chest. He said, what's that, sir? He said, give me that badge. So Sergeant Smith, he reached up, hands shaking, and he took the badge off and he snatched it from the warden, snatched it from his hands. He said, now get your ass back over there and lay down with the rest of them. So Sergeant Smith turned and he walked back over there without question and laid down on the ground. Tears rolling from his eyes. He's crying now, crying. Now, back on the compound, breaking news, it's all over TV. Major prostitution ring bust at the prison. Everybody in the penitentiary is watching it. And then all of a sudden, they start showing the mug shots. Sergeant Smith, Ryan, all the rest of the inmates on the work detail, all their faces, the 3 women. The 3 women that were shown on that. Then they get to talking about what it was they busted and explaining it to him, how this man has been smuggling contraband into the prison for years. And they were finally able to nab him with the help of a confidential informant, an inmate that had been busted inside the prison with a USB port. They laid it all out there on the line for the whole world to see and hear. Now the compound is watching this on the news, and it was like a collective gasp on the compound. Everybody like, oh man, that's why he went out like that. They didn't let nobody out. They locked the building down. Now everybody's speaking out loud as if they knew what was going on and all this and that, but didn't nobody know. But see, David's spidey senses were heightened. He knew something wasn't right. And he had told everybody that it within the org to put it all up. And they listened to him, and they did. Because they knew that if he said it, they had to do it, whether they believed him or not. Now, his credibility is shot back to the top. Shot back to the top. And they were looking at him like he deserved the spot that he already had. Now all of the things that they were saying about him were gone because they saw on TV that Sergeant Smith was involved. And so the story that he had told them, that they had told him, all of the stuff was matching up now that they were misdirecting. So how many other people, David thought, had they lied on, trying to get the attention off of them so the compound wouldn't be concerned with what Jay and Ryan was doing? How many other people had suffered the same fate that David had suffered? So now they show the police cop, and they show Sergeant Ryan, disgraced Sergeant Ryan, in the back of the police car as it was pulling off. And you could see him down, he was crying, his head is shaking, he's crying. That old look, you know, the tears running down your face, snot coming out of your eyes, and that look, you know what I'm saying, like, help me, please, somebody help me, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. He had that look on his face. Those of you that listen to this show that have been locked up and been put in the back of this, y'all know what I'm talking about. You may not have cried and snot running out of you, but you know that look like, oh, it's over. They got me. What could I do now? He had that look on his face and that feeling in your stomach too. Y'all know that feeling in your stomach where it's like, it's almost like you got gas, but you don't have gas. Then your armpits are sweating, they wet, and it's just nothing. It's almost like hopelessness that washes over you. All of those physical feelings is telling you this is what hopelessness feels like. This is what uncertainty feels like. So when they get him down to the police station and they let him out of the car and they walk him in and they got to book him. They got to book him. And when they get ready to book him, they tell him, what's your number? You got to get your phone number. You're going to call anybody, this and that, and the third. So all the third, they got to rig the phone up so he can call somebody. And they told him you get one free call. And the whole time, the officer said, give me your hand. He take his hand, roll his fingerprints on the thing. He's doing all of that kind of stuff. He said, stand right here. The process is really fast. They're taking his mug shot. And he's standing there looking, eyes wide open. You know how they catch people when they like, I don't belong here. I'm police. I shouldn't be going through this. See, he forgot that he had crossed the line a long time ago, years and years ago. So he wasn't the police no more. He wasn't law enforcement no more. He wanted the glory and the benefit of being one, but he didn't want the responsibility of being one because he had crossed the line. He was taking advantage of people that were vulnerable to what it was that he was trying to do. People locked up, wanting phones, wanting drugs, wanting tobacco, wanting all the different amenities that you can have to make your life better in this existence so you can just have some kind of semblance of normalcy, what you would have on the streets. He took advantage of that. And now he didn't get the benefit of help me from them. They treated him like he was any other person that they was running through that grinder. And they mugshotted him and fingerprinted him and told him to step into the holding cell. And that he'll be able to use the phone in a few minutes when they finish processing everybody else. And they ended up putting him in the same holding cell with all the other inmates. And the 3 women, they put in another one. They were promptly bailed out by their pimp. So they got out faster than he did. But he had to make a call to his wife. And when he made the call to his wife, everybody could hear on the phone that his wife was yelling at him, what do you got going on? What you been doing? What do they mean, prostitutes? She's saying all of these things, and he's trying to explain to her, I don't have a lot of time. I just need you to come down here and make my bond. I'll explain later. And she said what a lot of women would say, you get one of them to make your bond. You get one of them to make your bond. And she hung the phone up. But she showed up. She came on down there, and she bailed him out. She bailed him out. And right when they were walking out the door of the police department, she smacked him in the back of the head. She said, I hate you. I hate you. And he couldn't say a word. Walked on out. Now the inmates, after they got processed, you know what they did. They took them back to the penitentiary. Took them all back to the penitentiary. And now they were all on max. All of them. Sitting on max. And now when they were sitting on max, you know what I'm saying, pending wherever they were going to go, they all were talking. What we going to do? What they say to you? Man, what you think they going to do? Man, what you going to do? And all of them said, man, I ain't got nothing to say. You know what it is? You know what it is when you started doing this. Then a few of them said, man, you know I'm going home though, man. I'm going up for parole. And then the one dude that had on the wire, he said, man, you better save yourself, man. Forget about Sergeant Smith. He the police anyway. Then you heard a collective silence. You heard a collective silence. And then you started to hear some of the other guys that was already on max, that had been on max, that had been hearing about what these dudes was doing. They said, man, all y'all some suckers. Let him play y'all like that. Now, I bet ain't now one of y'all got nothing. Ain't got nothing. Just been out there fireballing out of control. So they all sitting there thinking about what's being said and what they had been saying themselves, and now they're trying to figure a way out. And then the news came back on. You know, they always recap the news, right? But see, the guys that was the trustees, they hadn't got their property yet, so they didn't get to see it. So one of the guys in the pod yelled out, y'all on TV again? And then one of the guys said, man, turn it up so we can hear. So they turned all the TVs up real loud, and it had a little time delay on it because all the TVs were a little different. But you could make out what they were saying. They were talking about a major prostitution ring going on at the prison. And then a couple of the guys said, man, there wasn't no major prostitution ring going on at the prison. But see, they weren't understanding the gravity of the situation. It is a major prostitution ring. If you got somebody that work at the prison that's inviting prostitutes on the state property so they can have sex with inmates, that's major. That's serious. That's pimping, y'all. That's pimping. And now, they all had to deal with it. And now they're hearing all the other things that was going on. And weirdly enough, some of the guys that was back there that had just got locked up, they talking like, yeah, we were shaking it, wasn't we? We were doing it, wasn't we? And then one of the dudes that had been on max for about 3 years, he said, man, y'all stupid. Y'all stupid. See, that's what happened. After you've been back on max for a long time, you start to realize all the things that you were doing out there. And now all of a sudden, when you on max, you become this wise, sage type dude to where you can give advice to people because you've come to understand and accept the things you did is what put you in the position that you are in. And you expect people to be on the same level that you on, but you soon forget how it took you those 3 or 4 years that you've been on max to get to that point. And you call everybody else stupid when they come back here. But once upon a time, he was that dude that just got back here that was stupid. And he was letting them know, man, y'all got a long road ahead of you. You think you're going home. You think they're going to just let this walk away. You think they're going to just let y'all leave after y'all embarrassed them like that? All of y'all trustees, y'all the people that they done vetted and went through the files and done all of these things, and you the ones that they said they can trust the most. That's why they call you trustees. And you think they're going to let y'all go home because y'all embarrassing them like this? Nah, it ain't going to happen. He said, you can think what you want to think. Think what you want to think. About that time, property officer bust through the door. Got cart after cart after cart after cart. All of these guys' property is in these carts. And the property officer, she got to go around from each one of them cells and go through all this stuff before she give it to them, and then they can settle in for the night. This is going to take 2 or 3 hours. But they had been through their property. They had searched it thoroughly. And a lot of the stuff that they had collected and accumulated over the time that they were dealing with Sergeant Smith, it was gone. all the nice shoes, the Jordans and all of that, all the oil they had, all of these types of things. And none of them had their phones because they were hidden. They weren't in their rooms. They were hidden. So now they were trying to figure out how can they get their phones and get them back there so they could figure out a way out of this. The only way they were going to be able to communicate with people to find a way out of this was through those phones. And they needed to get them, but they were on the compound. So how were they going to do that? If you want to hear how they continue to try to figure out a way to get out of this, you're going to have to listen to the next episode. It's been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.